Welcome back to this new lesson. We are still in a system for value delivery, and here we will be looking at the functions associated with the project or with projects. So what are these functions and what is their importance? So let's have a look at the functions and project governance. Project delivery is driven by people, and those people will fulfill different functions. Depending on the project complexity and size, functions can be executed by individuals or groups of people, or they can be combined in different roles. It's clear that the larger the project is, the more dedicated people you have for those different roles. Smaller projects, on the other hand, they will need less people, or the work will be less, and the work can be done by an individual, or even one individual can do different roles at the same time. Now, when we look at coordination, it's very important to include coordination, to provide proper coordination and adjust it to the type of project environment. Now, we can look at the centralized, decentralized, or self-leading teams. All the possibilities exist, and we have to see what is the best for the project that we are dealing with. Let's have a look at those different functions. Now, when we look at projects, we can identify the following functions which are associated with projects. First of all, we have to provide oversight and coordination. We have to present objectives and feedback. We have to facilitate and support, perform work and contribute insight, apply expertise, provide business direction and insight, provide resources and direction, and finally maintain governance. Let's have a look at each of those elements one by one. First of all, we look at provide oversight and coordination. Oversight can be applied in different ways, and it can include leading the planning, monitoring, and controlling activities, while in other organizations it may involve evaluation and analysis activities as part of the pre-project evaluation. Coordination involves consultation of executives and business leaders related to the ways to improve the satisfaction of the customer needs. The customer has to be satisfied with the work what we do, and we have to adjust the coordination and involve the right people to realize that. Oversight and coordination has to be tailored to the organization and the project. The larger the project, the more detailed oversight and coordination have to be, while in smaller projects this can be, let's say, very simple because we don't have so many people to deal with. It's easier to work with the people, the project is simple, so it's easier to guarantee a good oversight and coordination. We have to present objectives and feedback. When we look at objectives and feedback, we first have to distinguish between the customer and the end user. The customer and the end user can be the same, but it's not necessarily the case. A company may order some new program from us that we have to implement, but who are the end users? The customer is the company, and the end user can be a department within that company. Now, when we look at this function, we look at contributing to perspectives, insight, and clear definitions of the work that has to be done. We can look into this in different ways, and different solutions exist, and they depend on the project environment. When we look at an adaptive and a hybrid project, there is a great need for ongoing feedback. We do the work in parts, we show elements to the people, we provide it to the customer, and the customer has to give that feedback. They can change their objectives. When we look at other cases, for example, when we have a more deterministic approach, there can be that we have end users to be engaged in the project, or we can have a representative of the client being a part of the team. Many projects have encountered problems due to the misunderstanding of the objectives and the lack of feedback. It's very important that everybody understands the objectives, that there is a clear understanding of those objectives, and feedback should be provided so that the customer and the end user can provide the necessary information about their experiences and what they really want to have as an end product. Facilitate and support, well, this is a very important element. It's very closely linked to oversight and coordination, but here we are more talking about the creation of a supportive environment. And the project team members, they should need, or they must, or they should be working in an optimal environment. They have to operate or they function optimally. It's very important that the team can work the way they want to, the way it's necessary to create a successful project. Now, when we look at projects, and those of you who already have been working in a project environment, projects can be very frustrating and team members may lose faith quickly when there is no management support. In Texas, people would say, remember the Alamo. There was no support, and we see what happened. The fort was destroyed by the Mexican army, and they lost. But at the same time, the state of Texas became part of the US. So there are certain things that you have to do. You have to be sure that there is management support. The people in the project, they should feel supported. And when there is support, the team will function much better than without support. Another thing is when we can provide or we can ensure that we will facilitate the work of the team. Facilitating the work of the team means that we are taking away the impediments. We take away all the things that stop the people from working properly, all the unnecessary work that has to be done. Sometimes it can be stupid, like making photocopies. A secretary can do that. It doesn't have to be somebody from the team. Certain things are not working well if we provide those elements to the team, facilitating that they can do their work in the most optimal circumstances. And of course, providing feedback is very important to show to the people that we care about the work they're doing. We share our concerns so that they can improve the work. Basically, when there is feedback, the team can improve the results, and they will see that the customer will feel happier after that. And of course, we can provide solutions for certain issues that happen and that tend to slow down the team. Another function is to perform work and contribute insight. When we want to create deliverables, we have to work. The project work is basically creating those deliverables. Work can be part-time, full-time, and different resources may be used to complete it. We have to see that the work is done and we need the resources for that. There are some environmental factors that will drive the way the work is done. It can be a way that we work, for example, in a collocated way. We can work in a virtual environment. It can be geographically centered or spread. Environmental factors are very important, and it's not only where we work, but how is the team spread over the world, or are they collocated, are they virtual? All those things are very important to have a successful project that we have to manage properly. Now, when we look at the complexity of the modern project environment, we need insights from cross-functional team members. We need a mix of internal perspectives. It's also important to build alliance with key business units. And a very important element is that we have to motivate team members to become agents of change. That all of this together will lead to an increase of project success. A lot of elements come together here supporting project success. And that's what we want to do here. We want to have an environment where the team works and creates successful projects. Apply expertise. The complexity of projects is constantly increasing. It's not only about technology, but it's also the organizational aspects of their management. How are we dealing with that? What expertise do we need? Now, we need experts to share knowledge. They can provide us advice and support and contribute to the team's learning process and working accuracy. Experts are very important to help the team, to provide that knowledge that the team is missing, to make the team grow into an even better, more effective performing team, and it will lead to a higher degree of project success. Now, we can have internal specialists. We can look at internal resources. It is possible, but in some cases, we will have to use external people, external resources. We can add those experts for the entire project when it's really necessary, or we can just use them when we need them. Of course, that needs a lot more coordination to get the resources there, to get the experts there. In some ways, it's better to keep them on the team all the time, but it may be a problem if they're external. It would cost a lot of money, but we may have cooperations with specialists that whenever we need them, they will provide us or help us with their expertise. Provide business direction and insight. Now, when we look at projects are selected to create value. Typically, we talk about business value, and we can express that business value in or using financial parameters like payback time, return on investment, net present value, internal rate of return, and other parameters that exist. Typically, those parameters are defined in the business case. It's part of the business case determining the financial viability of the project. When we look at project managers, they should understand the business value and the outcome of the project and its effect on the project evolution, the project progress. Understanding what happens with the project when you make decisions, what is the effect of those decisions on the financial parameters? What business direction do we have to follow? How do we deal with all these things? The project manager should be aware of that, should be supported in these decisions, and should understand what is happening whenever a decision is made related to the business aspects of the project. So they need the insight, understanding what is happening. I've seen too many project managers just doing the project, doing the changes, only looking at the project, but not looking at the business surrounding the project. What are the reasons we do the project? What is the effect of your decisions on the project's financial parameters? But we can also look at other types of parameters like risk. But in this case, we talk about financial parameters. The people in this function, they will provide that guidance, and the goal is that the project will reach or exceeds its goals. Create at least the value that was set at the beginning. Create the value so that we create value for the company or for the organization. Provide resources and direction. Resources and direction is about liaising between senior management and the project team, and it's playing an important role in keeping projects aligned with business objectives. It's about removing obstacles and addressing issues outside of the bounds of the project's team's decision authority. The people in this function provide an escalation path for all issues the team cannot resolve, decide, or manage on their own. It helps the team to say, hey, we have a problem here, but this is not something which is in our sphere of decision making. We cannot make that decision, but those people can help the team to escalate this, to find solutions. So the team escalates the problems and the people in this function will help the team to resolve these problems. Very important to have project communication here, communicate the visions, the goals, and the expectations of the project team. Another element is about maintaining governance. It's important that we have to maintain the governance system that is in place, and we have to evaluate its performance. The people in this function ensure that the linkages between the project teams and strategic or business objectives are adjusted to consider the changes that may be necessary over the duration of the project. So this is the end of this lesson. In next lesson, we're going to look at the project environment. What's the internal and the external environment in which projects thrive or work? And what are the elements you have to consider when you're working in a specific environment? That was it for this lesson. You're doing a great job. Let's have a look. Let's go to the next lesson. See you there. Thank you and bye-bye.